think you should pay everybody? Is it a reason why you guys are not paying whatever that vendor is?
What was it for?
It was for shirts. That's what it's for.
The village of Dolton, Illinois, has become the epicenter of a political firestorm centered around its embattled mayor, Tiffany Henyard. Once celebrated as a trailblazer for being the first female mayor in the village's history, Henyard's tenure has become mired in controversy, with allegations of corruption, financial mismanagement, and abuse of power overshadowing her once promising leadership. Critics accuse her of misusing public funds for extravagant personal expenses and appointing unqualified allies to key positions to consolidate her authority, painting a picture of an administration focused more on personal gain than public service. These accusations have left the community divided and disillusioned, as Henyard's legacy shifts from a symbol of hope and progress to a contentious figure at the center of Dolton's political turmoil. As if the allegations against Mayor Tiffany Henyard weren't damaging enough, a shocking new development has added a dramatic twist to her unraveling political career. Her boyfriend has testified against her in court. This bombshell revelation has sent shockwaves through the Dolton community, amplifying the narrative of betrayal and political intrigue. His testimony has reportedly strengthened the case against Henyard, lending credibility to accusations of misconduct and leaving her supporters scrambling for answers. Outraged residents have taken to public forums to express feelings of betrayal, not just by their mayor, but by a system that enabled her rise to power. Henyard, however, has dismissed the allegations as baseless attacks orchestrated by political rivals, determined to see her fall from grace. She insists that the charges are part of a calculated smear campaign aimed at undermining her leadership and silencing her vision for progress in Dolton. Yet, as the details of her alleged transgressions continue to surface, even her staunchest supporters are finding it harder to defend her actions. The courtroom drama, centered on her boyfriend's stunning testimony, has become a spectacle that encapsulates Dolton's political turmoil, volatile mix of personal betrayal, power struggles, and public disillusionment. Once a promising leader, Henyard now finds herself at a critical crossroads, her political future hanging by a thread as scandals and accusations mount. The question on everyone's mind is no longer whether Tiffany Henyard can weather this storm, but whether Dolton can endure her leadership long enough to restore the trust that has been so profoundly eroded. Postponing to the end, we jump in to listen to a discussion about the trust that has been lost in the criminal justice system toward
Investigator, I've got some books that come here. Inside I have from the United States District Court, Northern District of Illinois.
Imagine being in her shoes, the spotlight shining brightly, your name celebrated as a symbol of progress, only to see it all unravel. For Mayor Tiffany Henyard, the downfall has been dramatic, with accusations that strike at the heart of her leadership. These serious allegations center on unlawful appointments to key positions in Dolton, roles of power and influence that, according to critics, were filled without the necessary approvals required by local governance rules. Her controversial actions reportedly began with attempts to appoint a village attorney, police chief, and village administrator, all critical to the town's management. Instead of securing the mandatory approval from the Board of Trustees, Henyard allegedly bypassed the legal process entirely. This led to swift intervention, with a judge blocking the appointments for failing to meet legal standards. Rather than recalibrating her approach or working within the law, Henyard's actions have only deepened the controversy surrounding her administration, casting a shadow over her once promising leadership. Instead of addressing the underlying concerns, Henyard appeared to double down, openly defying judicial orders and governance norms. This defiance wasn't subtle or passive, it was strikingly bold, leaving many in disbelief. By surrounding herself with individuals criticized as unqualified or lacking the proper authority for their roles, Henyard set the stage for an unprecedented standoff between her administration, the Board of Trustees, and the legal system. Critics argue that these appointments were not made with the village's best interests at heart, but were instead calculated moves to consolidate power by placing loyalists in key positions. By appointing loyal allies, Henyard ensured that key decisions could be made without opposition, effectively bypassing the checks and balances designed to prevent abuse of power. While the judge's order blocking these appointments was a setback, Henyard seemed to view it as a challenge, almost daring the legal system to keep up with her maneuvering. For the residents of Dolton, this unfolding drama has been both captivating and unsettling. On one hand, they've witnessed their mayor transform from a history-making leader, Dolton's first female mayor, into a figure whose actions blur the line between ambition and recklessness. On the other hand, they've watched the town's governance strained under the weight of repeated conflicts, legal battles, and allegations of impropriety. Many locals express disbelief at how far the situation has spiraled, with some questioning how one leader could amass such unchecked power and wield it so unilaterally. Henyard, however, remains steadfast in defending her actions. Henyard has consistently maintained that her decisions are driven by a vision for progress, dismissing critics as politically motivated detractors intent on derailing her agenda. Yet, with every new move she makes, the scrutiny only intensifies. From headlines highlighting her controversial appointments to public clashes with the Board of Trustees, Henyard's leadership style seems to thrive on confrontation, escalating tensions instead of fostering collaboration. For those who once celebrated her historic election, the disappointment is evident as they come to terms with the growing perception that her leadership is more about asserting dominance than serving the community. Her defiance paints the picture of someone who sees herself as untouchable, standing firm against those who challenge her actions. However, her apparent disregard for procedural norms and judicial authority has become a lightning rod for criticism, symbolizing a leader who prioritizes personal control over transparency and accountability. The controversy surrounding these appointments raises profound questions about the long-term impact of Mayor Tiffany Henyard's tenure. What does it mean for Dolton when its mayor openly defies legal orders? How does a community reconcile its desire for strong leadership with growing evidence that such leadership may come at the cost of integrity? As Henyard continues to operate with a defiant edge, her actions serve as both a cautionary tale and a wake-up call for a village grappling with the tension between hope for progress and the harsh reality of political turmoil. Whether the legal system ultimately catches up with her or she manages to weather the storm, one thing is certain: the repercussions of her leadership will resonate in Dolton for years to come. For now, residents watch the unfolding spectacle, caught between disbelief and concern, as their once promising mayor pushes the boundaries of governance to their limits.
One way that the government always does it is to go and investigate people around her, and that's what they're doing.
In a stunning twist to the ongoing saga surrounding Mayor Tiffany Henyard, someone unexpected took the stand and delivered testimony that could unravel her entire career, sending the Dolton, Illinois community into a frenzy of scandal. This witness, once thought to be a peripheral figure in the drama, emerged as a key player, offering allegations that paint a damning portrait of Henyard's leadership. According to the testimony, Henyard has been misusing municipal funds, taxpayer dollars intended to support the community, for personal indulgences, ranging from lavish vacations to extravagant purchases. The implications are staggering, revealing a leader who seemingly prioritized her own luxury over the welfare of the town she was elected to serve. If the testimony proves credible, it suggests a troubling pattern of behavior where Henyard allegedly used her position to fund a lifestyle of privilege at the expense of Dolton's residents. The accusations against Mayor Tiffany Henyard go beyond financial misconduct, delving into even darker territory. Alongside claims of misusing municipal funds for personal indulgences, new allegations of bribery and abuse of power have emerged. Word has spread that Henyard has been making secretive, under-the-table deals with local businesses, allegedly accepting payments in exchange for favorable treatment. These accusations paint a picture of a leader willing to trade integrity and fairness for personal gain, using her position to create a system that benefits her while undermining the trust and fairness that are vital to a functioning community. The testimony outlines specific instances where businesses allegedly paid to bypass regulations, secure permits more quickly, or receive other preferential treatment, effectively turning the ideals of public service on their head. If these allegations are true, they cast Henyard as a leader who exploits her power for personal profit, betraying the very people she was elected to serve. Mayor Henyard now appears more focused on lining her pockets than governing with transparency, equity, or responsibility. This betrayal of public trust strikes at the very heart of Dolton's governance, especially in a community already grappling with financial hardship, where the average household income is far below Henyard's own salary. With these new allegations of misuse, her constituents are left wondering just how much of their hard-earned taxes have been spent, not on infrastructure, education, or community programs, but on Henyard's personal indulgences. The testimony reveals a broader pattern of governance tainted by potential corruption, where personal gain consistently seems to outweigh the public good. As the accusations unfolded in court, the shockwaves extended far beyond the courtroom, reaching the residents of Dolton, many of whom had placed their hope in Henyard's leadership. Now they are faced with the painful realization that the leader they trusted may have used her position to serve her own interests instead of their needs. Fiornello Hilaire, residents who once placed their hopes in Henyard's leadership now face the grim possibility that the person they elected to guide them toward a brighter future may have been prioritizing her own self-interest all along. The idea of a mayor using her authority to play favorites and foster backdoor deals has not only shattered community morale, but also raised troubling questions about what else might be lurking beneath the surface. Could these alleged abuses be just the tip of the iceberg? What about her political and personal connections that may have allowed her actions to go unchecked? Henyard's response to these allegations has so far been one of denial, claiming political sabotage and a targeted smear campaign. However, her connections, including those with influential figures and associates who may have facilitated or ignored the alleged misdeeds, remain under intense scrutiny. Meanwhile, the witness's testimony has only amplified calls for accountability, with residents demanding transparency and justice. Critics are now questioning how deep these alleged connections run and whether Henyard's influence has compromised other aspects of Dolton's government.
So that's one of the reasons I won't know when we go through our board packets. It's like, some of this stuff, it's like you don't know exactly what it's for, and then when you ask a question, there's no answer.
You may be wondering how all of this unfolded in court. Witnesses say the atmosphere quickly shifted from tense to outright explosive when Henyard's boyfriend began disclosing personal details. Henyard, apparently caught off guard by his testimony, lost control and had a full-blown meltdown, yelling at him and disrupting the proceedings. Her emotional outburst only worsened the situation, giving the impression that she was not only losing her temper but also losing control of the entire situation. The public's reaction was just as intense. They weren't going to sit idly by as this drama played out. Many residents of Dolton, already exhausted by the chaos surrounding Henyard's administration, made it clear that they weren't going to accept such behavior or disregard for proper procedures. They felt it was a betrayal of the governance system, and they weren't about to let it slide. The latest scandal has only deepened the outrage, with social media flooded with calls for Mayor Henyard's resignation and accusations of betraying the community's trust. One commenter boldly declared that Henyard is as corrupt as they come, and that her crimes are clear and traceable, insisting she should be jailed. It's clear that residents' patience is running thin as they demand answers, especially considering Henyard was elected to serve them, not spend their hard-earned money on personal luxuries. This frustration was evident in public meetings, where questions about the administration's spending often went unanswered, leaving many feeling the process lacked transparency. Despite the mounting pressure, Henyard has not remained quiet. Rather than attempting to salvage what little reputation she has left, she continues to fuel the fire of public disillusionment, making the situation even more dramatic. Despite the growing controversy, Mayor Henyard still showed up late to a village board meeting held at the local park district building, as Village Hall couldn't accommodate the large crowd. When she arrived, she attempted to take charge, walking in as though nothing was wrong and trying to make a speech. However, the residents weren't having it. They booed her, making it clear they were not on board with her leadership. Afterwards, she left the meeting, but not before receiving invoices that raised further concerns. These invoices, combined with a lack of answers to residents' questions, only deepened the distrust. Additionally, Henyard is now facing a lawsuit accusing the Board of Trustees of unlawfully holding meetings and violating the state's transparency laws. In response, she claims the entire situation is an elaborate attempt to undermine her authority and sabotage her re-election efforts. Mayor Henyard's campaign has been working hard to control the narrative, claiming that all the accusations against her are politically motivated. She even posted a cryptic message on Facebook urging her supporters, saying, "I need all my black sheep to stand with me. If God is for us, then who can be against us?" It seems she's trying to rally her base, but given the current climate, it's unclear how much support she still has. For the past year, a federal investigation has been uncovering the questionable spending of Henyard, a politician from the South suburban area, but the full extent of the story remains unclear. Federal authorities have taken serious notice and subpoenas have been served. Rumors are circulating that Henyard's inner circle is starting to unravel under the pressure, with some of her closest allies now being drawn into the investigation, including her
invoices, but those invoices lead to more questions, and sometimes we don't get answers to those questions. And so it's not about clickbait, it's about just making sure the right.
You may be wondering how all of this played out in court. Witnesses say it wasn't exactly a calm day in the courtroom. The tension quickly escalated into an explosive situation when Henyard's boyfriend began disclosing personal details. Henyard, apparently caught off guard by his testimony, lost control and had a full-blown meltdown, yelling at him and disrupting the proceedings. Her emotional outburst only intensified the situation, giving the impression that she was losing control not only of her temper, but of the entire courtroom drama. The public's reaction was swift and intense. Under no circumstances did residents weren't going to sit quietly and let this unfold without expressing their outrage. The public was not going to let this unfold without protest. Residents of Dolton, already wary of the chaos surrounding Henyard's administration, grew even more outraged by the latest scandal. Social media erupted with comments demanding her resignation and accusing her of betraying the community's trust. One commenter didn't hold back, declaring that Henyard is as corrupt as they come and that her crimes are clear and traceable, calling for her to be jailed. It's evident that the residents' patience is running thin and they want answers. After all, Henyard was supposed to be working for them, not spending their hard-earned money on personal luxuries. This mounting frustration was one of the reasons why, in a public meeting, she tried to take charge and make a speech, as if nothing were wrong. At one point, Henyard tried to take over the meeting, despite knowing the board packets didn't fully explain everything, and when residents asked questions, they were met with silence. But it gets even more dramatic. You might expect that after all of this, Henyard would keep a low profile, perhaps trying to salvage what little reputation she had left. Instead, she arrived late to a village board meeting at the local Park District building, as the village hall couldn't accommodate the large crowd. When she finally showed up, she attempted to take charge, walking in as if nothing was wrong and trying to make a speech. However, the residents weren't having it. They booed her loudly, making it clear that they were no longer willing to tolerate her leadership. It's not about the headlines, it's about doing what's right, Henyard insisted, before leaving the meeting, after receiving invoices that raised further concerns. These invoices have only added to the questions residents have been asking, but they've often gone unanswered. Meanwhile, a lawsuit has been filed, accusing the Board of Trustees of unlawfully holding meetings and violating the state's transparency laws. Henyard claims the entire situation is part of an elaborate plot to undermine her authority and sabotage her re-election. In an attempt to control the narrative, her campaign has been framing the accusations as politically motivated. She even posted a cryptic message on Facebook, saying, "I need all my black sheep to stand with me. If God is for us, then who can be against us?" It seems she's trying to rally her supporters, but with the mounting controversy, it's unclear how many are still backing her. Given the current climate, it's hard to gauge how many people are still supporting Henyard. Over the past year, a federal investigation has been exposing the questionable spending of Tiffany Henyard, a politician from the South suburban area. But we've only seen part of the story. Federal authorities have now taken notice, and subpoenas have been served. Rumors are circulating that Henyard's inner circle is beginning to crumble under the strain, with some of her closest allies being drawn into the investigation. This includes her boyfriend, the very person who testified against her. The situation is only getting worse, with no resolution in sight. There are even rumors that he is in detention, continuing to disclose more information about Henyard's suspected corruption and financial mismanagement. Although the administration may claim to follow certain financial constraints, the reality is that the village's finances are in ruins, largely due to reckless spending and a lack of oversight. According to a report by former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, it's as if the entire government structure is collapsing under Henyard's watch. With all these accusations piling up, residents are rightfully concerned about the town's economic stability. One of the most shocking revelations from the report is just how extensive the harm has been. A temporary restraining order was issued last month, prohibiting Henyard from scheduling appointments without trustee approval. The village's own government, particularly the trustees, has been one of Henyard's most outspoken critics, accusing her of acting unilaterally and undermining their authority. In fact, it was the trustees who initially went to court to prevent Henyard's appointments, claiming she lacked the legal authority to make such decisions on her own. Now, with all of this chaos surrounding her leadership, the future of Dolton seems more uncertain than ever. The pressure is mounting as demands for accountability intensify, with one trustee stating, "We've had enough of these antics. It's time for true leadership." Despite the growing opposition, Henyard still has a few devoted supporters who believe she's being unfairly singled out. Some argue that this is part of a larger plot to remove her from office because she's challenging the established order. Henyard, however, shows no signs of backing down, continuing to fight at every turn, even as the walls close in around her. Wrong is wrong, and there's a time to hold people accountable for their actions, one critic pointed out. One viewer even asked, why hasn't she just run with the money and left everyone behind? This harsh sentiment is growing ahead of pain and can drag down all consuming. Even Henyard's most steadfast supporters are now struggling to defend her, particularly in light of her boyfriend's explosive testimony. The testimony from her boyfriend, which marked a pivotal turning point, has been a game changer in the ongoing legal battle. Some claim that local political figures and trustees are threatened by Henyard's leadership style and are doing everything in their power to force her out. So, what's next for Tiffany Henyard? The court case is just getting started, and the legal battles are far from over. More testimony is expected in the coming weeks, with speculation that even more damaging evidence could come to light. If Henyard is found guilty of corruption, it could spell the end of her political career. Even if she manages to avoid jail time, the damage to her reputation may be irreversible. The residents of Dolton are watching closely, and their patience is running thin. The trustees are growing increasingly fed up and are pushing for Mayor Tiffany Henyard to step down. While the federal investigation looms large over everything like a ticking time bomb, everyone is waiting to see how it will all unfold. Will Henyard be able to clear her name, or is this the final chapter of her time as Dolton's mayor? More importantly, what does this mean for the future of Dolton? The village is already struggling with financial difficulties, and with its leadership in turmoil, things could get even worse. Whatever happens, one thing is certain. This political scandal is one that won't be forgotten anytime soon. So, what do you think? Should Tiffany Henyard step down, or do you believe there's more to the story? Could this really be a case of political rivals trying to bring her down, or is she guilty of the accusations being leveled against her? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.